All right, I think we're gonna kick it off. I see some people still rolling in, but we'll go ahead and start. Welcome everybody, and thanks so much for taking time out and joining us tonight. Um, First up on our agenda is Dr. Montesano. Welcome, thank you. I know you've been busy.
Ah, thank you, Emily. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Happy New Year. We haven't seen each other since 2020 ended, although it seems like it's kind of blending into 2021 at the moment. But we're hopefully starting a new year with a little bit of hope and promise. What I thought I'd talk about first is the whole COVID situation. I'm sure you're well aware of some of the things that have been out there, particularly regarding the elementary school. And I'll just kind of let you know what's going on there. So at least you have the correct information, and happy to answer questions at the end of my update as much as you'd like. As I said, we're hoping that 2021 would bring a kind of a new year for us and we could start putting this pandemic behind us. But I think it started off just the opposite. We got hit pretty hard in the high school last week. We had to go to full remote at the high school. We had a fairly large number of cases there. I think it was about 15 or so at the high school, causing us to go remote. They came back in this week, the high school did. So far, so good. I think we may have one new case this week at the high school, but it certainly has slowed down. Next week, the high school is out on remote because of midterms, not because of the virus, but because of midterms. They're going remote. But that brings me to the elementary school. It seems like everything is hitting the elementary school currently. This week has been very concerning for us. Since Friday, we had 17 new cases at the elementary school, 12 this week. And about 45 minutes prior to this meeting, we learned of 2 additional ones included in that count I just gave you. So it seems like every day we're getting a number of cases. And the concerning part is there's not too many connections we're making. So it seems like it's just popping up in various places. So we have made a decision to go remote at the elementary school for tomorrow and Friday. We did start quarantining some of the students as a result of Friday's positive cases. Because of the new protocols from the CDC and New York State, we only need to quarantine people for 10 days, not for 14. So some of the students are ready to come back on Monday. Some are coming back on Tuesday. We have a new crop that we have to quarantine starting, I think, yesterday. So that'll be a little bit further behind. So a couple of things. Again, a new quarantine period is 10 days, not 14. Some people have asked, what about the 7-day with a test? New York and our county has not adopted that for us. So we still have to go with the 10-day quarantine period. A test does not get you out of quarantine jail, if you will. So we have to wait the full 10 days. But we thought, given the the rise in cases at the elementary school, we wanted to make sure that we were not spreading it in school. We don't think we are. We want to ensure that. So we're taking a couple of days of breather here. We're going to bring in our maintenance crew, do a real deep dive cleaning in the classrooms to make sure there's nothing floating around that we're not aware of. And I'm sure there's a bunch of theories out there as to why the outbreak, but I don't, I wish we could tell you where it's coming from, but we can't. So we're going to err on the side of making sure that we're not contributing to any spread. We think this is the right decision. It's just hopefully for just this week. We're anticipating coming back to in-person for elementary school on Monday. However, I say that with a caveat: if we get an increase in rise in cases over the next few days, we may decide to stay out a little bit further if necessary. So that's kind of the report at the elementary school. Fortunately, at the middle school, we really haven't seen the same thing we saw in the high school and the elementary schools. It's staying rather stable. There's lots of reasons, I suppose, behind that, although I wish we had the crystal ball to know why, because we would make a lot of money knowing how to stop the spread. But fortunately, at the middle school, we're plowing on and seems to be okay. So we're pretty solid there. We're trying as best we can to keep as many kids in school as we can. That's our goal, as safely as we can. Obviously, we have concerns where there's some spread. We have concerns with our staff members because we did have included in that count were a fair number of staff members as well, and that puts us in a rather challenging position to supervise the kids and get everybody in on time and in person. But we're trying the best we can to hold it together. We hope that this is beyond us. The other hope is the vaccine is sort of here, I would say. I mean, we're hoping that more gets delivered. If you read the reports, they say New York may run out by Thursday. I hope that's not the case. But we do have a number of our teachers who are set with vaccine appointments. And we're hoping that that will plow through. While we're not mandating it for our staff currently, we do know there's been a real desire on the part of staff to get vaccinated. So we're really hopeful that come the spring or late spring, that second shot will be there and we'll start to see some sense of normalcy again, at least by the end of the school year and into the summer. I know that's a long haul for many of us, but at least there's some light at the end of this dark tunnel that we're in currently. So that's keeping us busy, particularly this week. The other thing we're working on is budgeting for next year. I will tell you it's going to be a very, very challenging budget time for us going to next year. We learned over the last couple of days that the cap for Bronxville will probably be under 1% cap, which means that we can't raise our budget more than that. Under 1% is probably like 0.7, 0.8%. So we've got some challenges ahead as we work to figure out how best to get our budget to a position where we feel comfortable without cutting program, but can present to the voters at the cap. Right now, we're probably looking at cutting about $1 million from somewhere, and we're going to do that creatively. Most likely allocating some reserve funds, a bunch of other things that we are still talking about. The board has a budget workshop on Saturday, January 30th. So we'll be discussing this or the budget for next year at length during that time as well. And then finally, the capital projects, they are moving along quite nicely. Tomorrow night at board meeting, I'm going to be showing a short video showing off some of the new spaces within the building. The last two major projects that are just not done yet are the guidance suite and the atrium, which is the new high school entrance. Hopefully you've had a chance to walk down Meadow Avenue to see the entrance. It looks really, really nice in my opinion. The inside part of that looks massive to me when you walk inside. And I think it'll make for a really breathtaking entrance into the high school when all is said and done. They are in the final stages of it. I expect that we'll see the completion of the projects sometime within the next month and a half, other than some punch list items. So we're within the home stretch here with capital projects, and that's something we're looking forward to getting behind us. The other thing that's nice is the curtain wall on the elementary side. They did complete the roof, so you can get a chance to look at that if you're by the playground. It really looks like it's been there forever rather than that old metal one that used to be there. So that's the best thing when you can't tell the difference, but you know something's changed and it looks a lot nicer. But those are the main things that are going on right now. And so we've been keeping busy. But hopefully we'll have a good year ahead of us. 2021 will be kind to us. And we'll move forward. So with that, Emily, if there's any questions anybody has, I'll happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Roy. Appreciate all the hard work and diligence, especially this week. I know that there have been some tough calls you've had to make, so appreciate it.
Sure.
I don't see any questions in the chat.
This is the best audience, then that's great.
I think we're all shell-shocked. So I'm going to pass it along to Joe Haven.
Thank you.
Athletics office. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. So middle school athletics, we're a little bit down right now. We are offering two sports currently. We're offering an indoor track and we're offering squash. Both have already started. Um, and obviously squash can include sixth graders. And indoor track starts in seventh grade. One new opportunity we're going to have for our students who are not participating in the sport, much like the fall season, in conjunction with our PE staff, we're going to start an after-school PE program, which will take place on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, from 3:15 till 4 p.m. in our main gym. We're just going to call it, to be simple, after-school PE, and we're going to have a lot of similarities that our phys ed program has. Our phys ed teachers will be teaching it, but we're going to try to facilitate some new games, socially distant games, obviously with all the COVID protocols. Students will have an opportunity to sign up during their PE classes. We will allow students to sign up if they want to come 4 days, that's fine, unless we get a real huge overflow. If we have too many students coming all 4 days and we can't handle them, we might ask students, to go down to a 3-day schedule. But as of right now, when it first starts, students will come out. They will be co-ed games. Don't get me wrong. If let's say 50 girls and 50 boys sign up, maybe we'll break them up by gender. But our plan is to start right now. Games will be mixed co-ed, and at times they may go outside. Just depending, like I'm not sure if they were on today, but certain days they will go outside. This program is going to run right until February break concludes or starts. Excuse me. So conclusion of February, they'll be done, and like I said, it'll be done with our phys ed staff. So like I said, we're trying to have a lot of structure to it, and that's why we asked our phys ed teachers to take a real active part in this. So when your children go to phys ed, they'll be able to sign up for it, with their teachers. I will say this: I've had a couple of phone calls in the last few days concerning football. As you all know, football has not been approved yet. Currently on the schedule, tentatively, it's scheduled for the varsity level, all levels, March 1st. Now, I will say many schools in the section and including our conference have already decided not to have modified sports that season. Bronxville has not decided that. We will offer modified if we have the opportunity. That means if we have teams to play against, we will offer it for our children. But that's the main question I've been getting is, are we going to have it if it's available? And if it's available to us, we absolutely want to give our children the opportunity to participate. And that will be for any modified sport that is offered. So that was one question I've been getting a lot of phone calls on, so I thought I would address it. And one other great bit of news, we are planning, hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll have hockey at some point. So we are starting open skate for hockey. And this will be for 7th, 8th graders and the high school student athletes. We're going to give them 2 opportunities a week until the break. That'll be Thursdays and Mondays at Murray's. So if your students are interested in that, have them come down and see me. There'll be 2 days that they can come in for open skate. We are looking for athletes, though. This is not an introductory. This is student athletes who have participated in hockey and they're going out, getting conditioning in case the season does happen, they'll be prepared to go. This is not an introductory program. If I have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you. You can call me anytime you'd like. Thank you.
Joe, I see one question in the chat about whether there will be swimming.
What level and what gender? Those are modified. In the past, we have, from speaking with Dawn, we haven't had a modified program, and that's because we have enough amount of athletes. Girls swimming is starting March 1st. We're currently working with 2 pools right now, trying to get taken care of. The 2 pools are SUNY Purchase and the New Rochelle YMCA, trying to see who will take us. We're praying for SUNY Purchase because that way we can offer diving too. And 7th, 8th graders will have the opportunity to test up and pass the physical fitness test. If they can do that, then they can participate at the varsity level. And just as soon as we get any more information about, as soon as we get the definite information out, concrete, we'll put it on the website, we'll email it out, and when we do that, we'll also be opening up Family ID at the same time. Family ID tends to open 30 days before the season starts, so we are looking around. We'll probably open February 2nd or 3rd for Family ID, and just register on there. And if your student athletes need to be tested, the APP process takes place. So there's a physical test they have to pass, physical fitness test they have to pass, and a maturity test through our school physician. and we'll set all that up for you. So if there's information right online when we do start swim on March 1st.
Okay. I'm just checking. Again, for open skate, will it be hockey drills and practice mainly, or would there be any games, and what
No,
ages?
no, actually, so hockey is a high risk sport, just like football. So if your child took part or saw what was happening during football, it's basically conditioning practice, working on individual skills. There is no contact, and that's why it can be 7th grade through varsity athletes, seniors. There's no contact. It's conditioning and ice hockey specific drills. There's no games. They may play some soft 5-on-5, but they cannot really have contact. It is a sport that has not been approved by the state yet because it's still considered high risk. So they really can't have any collision, any contact at all. Social distancing is very important at this point for us.
Thank you. And one more question. What modified sports are you going to start in March, or are you expecting to start in March?
Well, it depends on the state. So if football is approved and we have teams to play against, that'll start March 1st because that's the second winter season they're calling that fall 2 because we didn't play in the fall. That sport will be offered, and then swim also moved to that day. So it won't be a modified level, it'll be varsity level where modified athletes for swim, because like I said, could pass a test if they'd like to move up and try for the varsity swim team. Football, it will be only if football is still a high-risk sport, has not been approved by the state yet. The only sport on March 1st that's been approved by the state so far is the swim program.
And is squash registration still open?
If it's not, call us tomorrow morning and Dawn will we'll open it right back up. I do know that I believe they're starting tryouts. Practices registration started already, but I believe it starts on this weekend and next weekend for tryouts. So I do believe they're going to find a way to include all the modified athletes who want to participate, because this year, which is different than most years, I do not believe they're going to go out and play a competitive schedule. They're going to play more of a house league with just our children involved. But so if there's a family that'd like to get involved, give us a call in the morning. If it's not open right now, we will open it up and we'll contact the folks with squash to let you know to look for your registration.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I'm going to ask Katie Shaw to speak on behalf of the Bronxville School Foundation.
Hey everyone, thanks Emily. Just a couple updates from the foundation to share. First of all, thank you all so much for supporting the foundation annual campaign to date. Your generosity is so appreciated, and as Roy mentioned, in light of state budget cuts, these funds are needed this year more than ever. If you'd like to contribute but haven't yet, please visit our website, bronxvilleschoolfoundation.org, to donate, and also please consider following us on Facebook and Instagram to stay on top of all the news about the grants and programs coming out. We're really excited to announce that the school's new Design and Innovation Center is now open and operating in the high school. There's a great video on the website that shows the center in action, so please take a moment to watch it with your kids. The D&I Center will serve as a hub for STEM learning, robotics, product prototyping, fabricating for many classes, including physics, engineering, entrepreneurship. So it's just a really great addition to the school and our capabilities and our curriculum. And so it's just really exciting. Also inside there's modular furniture that moves, so it can take on new projects. There's best-in-class laser cutters, 3D printers, and hand tools. So it's just a really great space. So check it out when you can. And that was all brought to life from the foundation grant. And speaking of grants, we're currently accepting new grant proposals for 2021. We welcome grants proposals to come in from teachers, faculty, students, alumni, parents, and the deadline for this grant cycle is March the 1st. Next, the foundation is also accepting nominations to its board. So please consider self-nominating or nominating someone else. The board strives to maintain a balance from all 3 schools, and a nominating committee manages a pipeline of candidates. So there may be a lag between the time of nomination and when an opening occurs, just to keep in mind. And anyone who's interested is invited to submit their name or the name of someone else. And lastly, thank you to everyone who participated in the Katie Welling virtual walk over Thanksgiving weekend. We were able to raise over $20,000 across the country, which is really fantastic. And obviously all goes back to the school. So thank you for your participation in that. And that's all from us.
Thanks, Katie. If people are interested in submitting a nomination, do they do it through the website, the foundation website?
Yeah, there's a website. You can do it there, and there's also an article coming out in my hometown Bronxville next week as well.
Okay, thanks. I know it's hard to believe, but we're in January, which means we need to start thinking about next year already. And I've been so lucky this year to work with Caroline Dimitri as my vice chair. And I think she has a message, hoping all of you guys will consider joining for next year.
Thanks, Em. Yeah, so I've been working with Emily as vice chair for the Educational Council for the middle school, and we have a wonderful group of volunteers who work tirelessly to enhance the experience for our middle school students. So this time of year, every year comes around when we are looking to find a few good men and women to join our team. There's a role for everyone, so with different time commitments. So if you work full-time or you work part-time, or you're just looking to meet a few new people and volunteer, we've got a spot for you. So there'll be more information coming out soon, but if you'd like to pick my brain and find a spot that might work, reach out to me, Caroline Dimitri. You can find my information in the directory, and hope this finds everyone well, and hope to meet you all soon. Thanks. Thanks, Anne.
And hopefully a lot of it could potentially be in person next year. More fun that way. And finally, I'd love to introduce Carol Del Judas. A lot of us know her from our time in the elementary school, but this is her first year with our middle schoolers, and she's been amazing and brought so much energy into the computer program. So I'm going to hand it off to her, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Hi, thank you so much. And thank you guys for having me, and Happy New Year. I want to share with you a little bit about the curriculum, a little bit about what's happening, and then some really fun student projects and some work that's been going on so far for the past 2 quarters. So I'm just going to share my screen. What's really great is that I get to see most of my students all over again. So it's been fun to see them and to see kind of where they've grown to over these past couple of years. I'm really impressed with the skills that they've developed since I've seen them in elementary school. I would say my ultimate goal is to kind of meet them where they are and try to lift their love and level of technology skills. So it's been a really interesting 2 quarters. I'm extremely impressed. One thing I will say is that the middle school computer science program prepares our students with some of the basics that they'll need for Computer Science 1 in the high school. So that would include concepts such as variables, loops, functions, and user interface. A lot of our curriculum, so a lot of our core curriculum values in the middle school mirror the CSTA, the Computer Science Teachers Association framework. They're concepts that they encourage that are taught, as well as what students should be practicing. So a goal for this year has been to incorporate these practices into our curriculum and to grow projects that will help reinforce this. These are critical skills that they'll use throughout a K-12 computer science career, and I think that this will be really beneficial for high school. Concepts that we look at. So our curriculum consists of computer science, time management, research skills, physical computing, documentation and reflection, collaboration, presentation skills, digital citizenship, Google tools and discussion strategies. And I think that this is great because this should not just be siloed to my classroom. These are skills that they can use through all their academic subjects. So my class could be a place where they can practice this, and then they can use this throughout all their other subjects and classes. Our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are all working on decomposing problems, but each year it's important that we're going to scaffold these skills so that they can really grow to be computer science learners. So one thing I've wanted to do this year is not just do like a one and done project, to really be thoughtful in what we have our students doing. So they have 4 quarter-long projects. Digital citizenship is something that we do on a weekly basis. I think that that's something that you can't just check off a list. I think that that's something that you need to embed into the culture of our classroom. It's something that's extremely important. Their lives revolve around technology, and it's important that they learn how to use it wisely. So we do it, I see them 4 times a cycle. We have one major project to do at least once a cycle, and I try to involve it around some sort of a Google tool. So they learn a skill that has to do with a Google tool that they can use in all their classes, but they're still working on digital citizenship, whether it's through Google's Be Internet Awesome and some common sense media materials, as well as some authentic tasks. I also have students participating in Tech Talks this year. So every 6th, 7th, and 8th grader give a Tech Talk presentation. It looks different throughout each grade. Where 6th grade, they're given topics and then they pick that one of their bunch and then make a presentation on that. Whereas an 8th grader are really diving more into the research of articles. So it really expands throughout the grades. And I think that this is important. It encourages the research, public speaking, and it also gets them involved with current events and technology. I have every 6th, 7th, and 8th grader make a digital portfolio. So all of their coding projects will be documented, and this will be really meaningful, especially for 6th grade, because now they'll be able to embed their work all 3 years in the middle school, and every 6th, 7th, and 8th grader will have a portfolio to take with them to high school. So if students really fall in love with computer science education, they have a middle school and high school experience that they can build upon to even use for college applications. We also document all of our work through Flipgrid. So because we need to be socially distant, I've tried to be creative in ways for us to share our projects and our code. So every time we do some sort of a computer science project, kids document it through Flipgrid, and we kind of have our own museum of code, and kids can look through the gallery and give feedback to each other. And another project that we work on, the AP CSP exam has something called an Explore Task Final. It's where students would pick a topic to research, build some sort of an infographic, and answer some really critical thinking and deep analysis questions. I've pared it down to a middle school level for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, just to expose them to this type of project. This is also beneficial. So if any of them do decide to pursue this in high school, they've had exposure to these types of projects and questions. So I think this is something that would really help them in the future. So what do they use? They use something called a microbit. A microbit is a small, basic mini computer. It's a mini processor, and it's a physical computing device where the kids can program LEDs, buttons, sensors like a light sensor, a temperature sensor, a motion sensor, and it has some wireless radio and Bluetooth communication abilities. So they're able to create projects that send messages to each other without necessarily having to be right next to each other. These devices are extremely fun, but also engaging. And I think that this is a really great tool, not a toy. I think that's also an important thing to show them. And I've said this since they were in elementary school. This stuff can be really fun, but we need to give them some sort of purpose and connect this to real life, so it's not just stuff. So it looks like our kids are playing around with small devices and 3D designing and taking things apart and putting stuff together with cardboard, having conversations at tables, making video reflections, and researching articles and other information through the school library. But what they're actually doing is they're creating their own creations. They're designing, they're developing a vocabulary, they're collaborating with their peers, they're learning resiliency, they're negotiating through conversations. They go through the design process, they problem solve, they reiterate every time. If their code doesn't work, they have to go back, redesign, test it again. They set goals. They do lots of observing and questioning. They're developing confidence in programming and technology skills. There's lots of opportunities for reflection on their progress and their process that's built into every computer science project that we have. They're learning how to plan, understand complex concepts, and manipulate the environment around them. And these are all really important skills that they can transmit into other areas in their curriculum. So these are some projects that we've worked on so far. We've made a hot potato game. We've used rocks, paper, scissors. We created a head guess game in some grades, sort of like the game Heads Up. We made a step counter. We simulated flipping a coin, and we used a compass, and we actually tested these out on the front lawn. So here are some examples. These were some of the 7th graders working on digital citizenship. So we worked on what it meant to be a good digital citizen and what it meant to have an online presence and how we need to be thoughtful when we put information out into the world, because we're leaving a footprint out there. And where you might not think much about it now, it might come back to you later on in life, and to really consider how you even exchange words with each other online, because there's no tone. So people can misread what you're trying to say. And then we went and reflected back on what we did. And we thought about, okay, if you had to take this and break this down and teach this to an elementary student, what activity would you do to get them involved and get them to understand what we're working on? Here are some more pictures of my 7th graders, my Zoom students. So these 2 groups have students that are at home. So they joined Zoom to work with them online. This was the step counter we made. I gave a ton of different materials, from clothespins to rubber bands to binder clips, masking tape, and kids had to figure out how to attach it to themselves. And they had to test it in multiple places. So they had to try the inside of the shoe versus the outside of the shoe, the ankle, what was the best place that it counted, what was the most accurate. Was it more accurate on your left foot as opposed to your right foot? And we also tested it running versus walking. So we did a little socially distant run in class. I thought that this was just something fun and something to get the kids up and moving around. I know that they're in seats and in front of screens for a lot of their day. So I thought that this would be something that would be engaging, but also they could go through the design process as well as the computational thinking. Here are some 8th graders with theirs. One thing I did have them do, so after they did the code and they figured out how to attach it and which one worked the best, I had them create a Flipgrid, and they had to actually show it, not only show their code, but show it in action, and then break down what their process was. So I thought that that was something that was super helpful. They were able to kind of think their ideas out, test them out, and then be able to speak about them a little, and then share that with each other online. We also did a rocks, paper, scissor game, and I kind of modeled it off of like a March Madness. So we did like a tournament bracket, and the kids worked their way around the room. And not only did they play each other in school, but they also made sure that they did it with their friends that were on Zoom at home. And these were some of our Tech Talk presentations. These were one of the things that blew me away. I gave 7th and 8th graders the opportunity to find their own topic, where 6th grade, I gave them a handful of topics that they could choose. 6th grade dove a little deeper and found even more stuff than I had originally given them. 7th and 8th graders came up with so many interesting topics. And some students even went as far as to relate it to their own life. So these two particular students, one, their family does some flying. So they looked up instrument landing systems, which basically is when a plane needs to land on a runway at night or in bad weather. So that was really cool because I think he does some flying with his father. So that was something interesting that he could bring back home. Another student did something with 3D printing, but 3D printing in the sense of the medical world. They looked more into a particular brace that they actually wear for a medical condition. And I thought that that was so amazing that they wanted to share that with their class and demonstrate that. Some other ones that we had were goal line technology, touchscreen technology. The kids did a really amazing job in not only their presentation skills, but their different topics. And I think the last two were haptic suits and how technology has influenced the stock market. That was another one that I was really blown away by. This year, I have been really fortunate to participate in IDE training. This, I believe, is funded through the foundation. This has been instrumental to facilitating instruction both in school and for students at home. Their concepts of activity lists keep both students who are remote and in the building on the same page. It helps keep them organized, and it's really set such a good time management pace for the class. And one of their other concepts are home groups. So one of my goals has been to really ensure a classroom community, especially for students who are at home. I know it can't be easy to not be in the classroom, and it comes with so much. So I really want them to feel a part of the class. I don't want to just give them an assignment. I want the kids to be able to interact with each other as normal could be. So this has been a really amazing way to structure and set that up. So I have kids that are in the classroom and at home working together, and those are like their quarter-long group, and they get to do a lot of different projects together, Zoom with each other in class, and it's just really helped kind of honor their social emotional well-being, which I think is really critical, and it's a priority. And it's also enhanced their use of technology with breakout rooms and being able to share their screens and collaborate in really different ways. I think that we really had to redefine what collaboration looks like in a social distance setting, and through our lab. It. And last but not least, if you have social media, please follow me. I have a Twitter and an Instagram. I'm really trying to highlight a lot of the good work that's happening, and I'd love to share it with you all. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to see your energy. And I do follow your Instagram, and it's so cute to see what the kids are working on in the classroom.
Thank you.
I'm going to quickly give updates on what our council has been working on. Obviously, it's been interestingly quiet this year. But our teen center team, that would be Wendy Fahey, Nora Nazaro, and Deidre Doheny, pulled off a really cool virtual game for the 7th graders right before Christmas that had them interacting in a virtual Among Us style game with a bunch of parent volunteers. The kids had a ball, and it was a big success. So I would expect if you have a 6th grader or an 8th grader, hopefully we will roll out an additional version of the Chiller Among Us game in the next few months for the other couple of grades. Basque has creatively come up with a couple of in-person meetings that have had pretty good attendance. Running Club is one of them, and I can't remember what the other one is off the top of my head, but they were able to accommodate all the kids that signed up. So that was super encouraging to see some in-person clubs taking place. And the Be Well Committee is hosting Dr. Alec Miller in February, on February 4th. He has worked closely already with the elementary school. And this meeting is for the parents. It's a school-wide workshop to talk about how we can implement dialectical behavior therapy into our own parenting, and in coordination kind of with what the school is already putting in place in the classrooms and with the teachers. I think that's probably it from me, but I know Tom has lots of information to share with all of us.
That's better. Sorry about that. I'll find the mute button one day. Then people have been looking for it for years. So I thank you to Carol for doing such a fine job explaining our computer program so vividly. It's been a pleasure to have Carol join the middle school staff this year, and it really has been fantastic to have a partnership with someone who is so clearly aware of how kids use technology and just how deeply connected our kids are through technology. Maybe no grade level ever to date has relied on technology as much for social interaction as our sixth graders. And that is partly necessity, partly because of how their year was interrupted from in-person education last year, as we all were. But they were ready to jump into cyberspace together without all the training and without all the work necessary. And as some of you may know, we had some issues with sixth grade and social media at the beginning of the year, and I'm really happy to say that, and I know for a fact it's due in part to Carol's ongoing education with our kids. Also, she shares lots of updates and ideas with our teams too. She attends our team meetings where she can speak with classroom teachers and also obviously same group advisors who also speak about the importance of watching one's digital footprint and how to use social media effectively. I'm really proud to say we have had no incidents in any grade, but most importantly in sixth grade since around Thanksgiving. And even with that said, things are really quiet on that front, which is outstanding considering how many kids have devices now and how ubiquitous they almost are. If you are a parent who is holding off for a birthday or a special event to give your child a phone, stay the course. Do what you think is right for your family. Don't believe the hype that you get at home that every child has one. It's not true. It's also not true that they need a phone in order to be effective or successful in school. That's not true. A phone is a big responsibility, and not every student is ready for that responsibility at the same moment. So if you're clear in your mind about what makes sense for your family, please know we support you. Also, never hesitate to blame me if it helps. That's kind of why I'm here. I can take a lot. So if that helps in some way, blame the school, blame me. It's totally fine. We're not ready yet. Dr. Wilson said I don't have to entertain this now. Totally okay. But it is nice to know that our kids, they don't have lockers. they have to have their phones on them most of the time. And they've been very good, by and large, really good about using them effectively. My sister is a college professor, and phones and computers are the bane of her existence. She has kids who come into her classes completely unregulated, never having had the ability to have a device with them, and they don't know how to handle it. And we have this conversation frequently. And I think by and large, we're taking a lot of the power and energy out of the devices because our kids do have access to them, and they're learning the difference between when it's permissible and when it's not. And they have been really good partners in that. So well done all, but particularly grade 6, where we were experiencing some early kerfuffles. So that was good. I want to talk a little bit about schedule and structure and what's happening between now and the end of this month. The end of January, the last school day is the 29th. That also happens to coincide with the last day of the second quarter. We would really like you to print out your child's schedule, have your child print out their schedule at home. The only thing that will change in their schedule is the exploratory class that they are taking. So whatever exploratory or special area class they are taking this quarter will end on the 29th, and their new one will begin on February 1st, which is Monday. So that's the only thing that will change. The time of that, the place of that will not change. A few staffing changes will take place at mid-year. And actually two of them have already started. One of the benefits to having a younger staff is that you get a lot of energy and a lot of exciting ideas. And one of the drawbacks is they have the audacity to have families. And so we have some people who are going out on maternity leave or family medical leave. 2 are out already. 1 will be coming back from a leave. Mr. John Yanako is with us in PE presently for PE, where Miss McGovern has had a lovely baby boy, and Miss McGovern will be out until the mid-late spring. And Mr. Yanako was with us earlier doing a leave for Mr. Fisher, who is back now, but he was also on family medical leave. So we welcome John, and we're really happy to have him. He's an excellent teacher, and if it's almost undeniable, your child, regardless of their PE teacher is, will have John in some fashion or form because of the way they work together. Alin Flaherty has been with us since the beginning of the year, taking Mr. Orsenigo's classes, and Mr. Orsenigo is poised to return for the 3rd and 4th quarters. So we are thrilled beyond words that Gene will be back in person. He's going to be back for 2 weeks remotely, and then after the February break, he'll be back in the school in person. But on February 1st, he will teach his classes via Zoom. The kids will go to their classes as normal, and he will instruct them from class, and we'll have another adult in the room just for control and for making sure everything goes well in technology. So Miss Flaherty will remain with us, though. Miss Flaherty will shift over to take Miss Oliveri's maternity leave. She's also having a baby. We have lots of babies this year. And she will take over all of Miss Oliveri's classes. Also, Miss Oliveri is set to return mid-spring as well. And finally, Mr. Ivor Hansen is with us for technology, where Mr. DeStefano has taken family medical leave to welcome the birth of his second child. And we look forward to that event. And he will be back earlier. He'll be back in March. So Mr. Hansen's already in place and already working with this group, but he will take the next group through most of the third quarter. And I just wanted to update you on those changes in staffing, albeit all temporary. Next, I'd like to just remind folks about how to go remote. The third quarter is coming. If you have a change of family dynamic, plan, need, and you would like to switch your child from in-person to remote learning, I would ask you please to consider that the flitting back and forth is in nobody's best interest. It doesn't really work well. We have been asking for people to make full quarter commitments to the idea of being at home or in person rather than bouncing back and forth. It is a logistical nightmare to keep track of students who are situationally in and out. And there are cases where that's very legitimate to do, no question about it. However, we're feeling a little Zoom today. This is a Zoom day for us. We can't sustain that. That's not helpful to anybody involved, your child included. We really want you to make a commitment to being in school or being at home as much as that's possible to do. Again, if you are quarantining, if you are awaiting COVID test results, those are non-negotiably legitimate, reasonable, short-term absences that we can help you with and are happy to help you with. But if you are planning on or thinking about the potential of shifting your child to remote learning, text me, email me, do something. Let's talk it through to make sure that that we have a plan that is reasonable. If it's less than a quarter, call me anyway, text me and email me anyway, because we can talk through whatever's on your mind. But please try your best to refrain from the single day. He was really tired last night and I'm going to let him stay home. He'll Zoom today. It's not an option I really want kids to have available in the same way as we have it available for kids who are home in service of the public good. It is a difficulty keeping track of people who are absent or present in the school or at home, and your help continues to be really important. But again, if you are considering making a shift either back to school or away from school to remote, the third quarter would be a natural point to make that happen, and we should talk, however briefly, to determine what your thoughts are. If you are not changing what you're doing, there's no reason to get in contact with me. So if you are already a remote family, you don't have to reapply for remote status. You continue in the status you're in. That is completely reasonable. It's only if you're changing your school status. We just had a big overhaul today of our Infinite Campus tracking system in order to help make some of that a little easier to follow. But it is really, it's created an intensive, certainly an intensive 2 hours in the morning at least for Katie, and maybe less so, but for me too. Again, thank you for your help. The envelope challenges have been going very well. The kids have enjoyed the puzzles and the little treats that you all have provided. The last envelope challenge of the quarter and of the semester will be the 26th. We have the prizes and we're all set. We don't need anything, but the kids are neck and neck in several of the races, and it will be exciting. And attached to that challenge, we're also sending out a survey that has been put together by the student council. And the students who serve on the student council have a quality of life survey that they would like to get feedback from their peers about, questions about how they think the year is going. Would they change anything? Where are sixth graders with the not being able to go out to lunch very often? And yes, we are going to continue giving them at least a day a month aggregate, but we have to have rational things for the 7th and 8th graders to participate in order to make that happen. So they're likely to get a couple days in February to try and get us up to date. We will take the STAR assessments, as I mentioned in the bulletin. I have dates for those now. The ELA will be given on the 29th, and English Language Arts, and the math portion will be given in class on February 1st. Nothing to study for, just have a good breakfast and go about your normal day. It's not the kind of test you can do any preparation for, but that test has tremendous validity and reliability scores, and they are really predictive of student performance. And we took it in the beginning of the year, and having the mid-year scores will allow us to assess growth. You can't do that with the state tests. They don't correlate the tests that way. They don't give us any measures in which we can do that kind of statistical analysis. The STAR does, and yet it still has a strong connection to how they would do if the state test was given. Next question would probably be, hey, are we having the state tests? We don't know. The state hasn't made a decision on that yet. That includes Regents exams. We don't know what the state is going to do at this point, but we're poised and ready to give the tests should we have the ability and time to give them. But we're in limbo waiting for that as well. And with all of the increases around us, we're feeling very fortunate in the middle school that our numbers they're not creeping up. They have not spiked at all. And as Roy said, we don't know why. We have lots of theories, and that's all they are, is theories about why that might be the case. But one thing seems to be true, and that is that school as an event is not really a super spreader. And the teachers and the students alike have done an incredibly good job of maintaining all the PPE and social distancing that is required in order to keep us safe. And that also extends to uptown at lunch. And we have had staff members, myself included, most days, walking in town, and the kids have really internalized the rules for the most part, and have done a very good job of self-regulating where they're sitting, how many, how close, and we don't know if our spate of good luck will continue or not, but to date, I'm very pleased with the responsiveness of our kids and the diligence and dedication that our teachers have shown to keeping everybody safe. So if conditions change, truly, you will be the first to know. And until then, we will continue to act with vigilance and everybody's best interest in mind. Emily, that's all I have for this evening, but I'd take any questions if there are any.
I think that's all I have for this evening too. And I don't see any questions in the chat. So Tom, thank you for keeping the ship afloat. Appreciate it. Appreciate the communication, and to the whole administration and teachers. Thank you for all the effort that you guys put in every day. And parents, thanks for your support. And I hope a lot of you guys will be contacting Caroline about next year's board. So thank you guys.